we are starting a new vlog today. Say hi.
Hi. Is it right here, this guy?
Yeah. Today we're starting a vlog for Christmas in summer. We're going to be doing some summer activities. We're going to be doing some Christmas activities. It's going to be a good time. We're on our way to the beach right now, which is the summerest of activities. And I'm going to be reading The Summer of Christmas by Juliet Giglio and Keith Giglio. So stay tuned for that. Hello, I realize that this is a very different vibe from the last time you saw me, but we're cuddling in for a reading night. I have just passed the 100-page mark in The Summer of Christmas, and I'm enjoying it. It's picking up now. The beginning was a little rough. The writing felt a little clunky, but we're settling in. And I should probably tell you what it's about. This is, oh hi kitty. This is about Ivy Green, who is a screenwriter who has written a screenplay about her great love after he dumped her. And it is now getting made into a movie in the small town where they lived, and we've just started production on the movie. And it's good. One of the things that I like is it starts off as single POV and then eventually it becomes dual POV, and now it's become triple POV. I don't know if we're gonna go for 4, but I'm happy with 3. The 3 perspectives are Ivy, Nick, who is the ex-boyfriend, and Griffin, who is playing Nick in the movie, whose name is Rick. I noticed that the authors are credited with actually being screenwriters, and the things that I care about that they've worked on are Tarzan, Return to Halloween Town, and A Cinderella Story, which is very weird, and I'm a little disappointed for how much I love those movies that this isn't delivering that same vibe, but it's fine. At this point, there's nothing wrong with it, and I do kind of like the relationship between Ivy and Nick. Like, they're very bitter at each other still, and we just had a scene with Nick's sister, who is on Ivy's side in the breakup, which is interesting. Though the breakup was never really explored, I don't think there's gonna be a miscommunication trope on like the 300-page mark as like a twist. I hope not. It's also taken me a while to get even this far, and I was thinking about it, and I think it's Love Island's fault, as so much of my life is. The show is on 5 nights a week, and that's so much, but somehow I'm caught up, and that should be a crime. But also I am very excited for the next episode. I think this is the last week, so maybe after that I'll be able to get my reading life back on track. I'm reading a good amount. The problem is just I have a YouTube channel and I have videos that I want to make, and you have to read to make those, and I think my mood reading is suffering a little bit, because this is what I want to be reading right now. Not necessarily, but I'm not in the mood for anything super heavy, so it's nice in that way. But I'm gonna sit here and we're gonna make some progress and then watch Love Island later. Don't worry about it. Hello friends, I'm very nearly done with this book. I have about 30 pages left and I just couldn't finish it before I had to fall asleep, and it's not going great. I just did a video where I went through all of my highest rated books according to Goodreads, and I happened while I was doing that to look at this book, and this has the 3rd lowest rating of any book that I've read. The lowest one overall is Kissing the Coronavirus, which is honestly just a shame. That book is great, 5 stars. I think it just got into the public eye and review bombed, but regardless, 3rd worst book that I've read with a 2.9, and I'm getting there. I think the problem with this is just no one acts like a real character, because at a certain point in here, both Nick and Ivy decided that they wanted to be together again, but nothing happened and we don't know why. And also the thing that I said about it being triple POV is now wrong. It's like 80% Ivy's POV, 10% Nick's POV, and then the other 10% is random townsfolk. So we had one from an actor, one from Nick's mom, and it's also written, I don't know if this is what you call it, but in 3rd person unlimited. It's not limited to the character whose perspective you think you're in. You sort of eventually hear from everyone. So in the same paragraph you can hear from Ivy's POV and Nick's POV and a random passerby's POV. It's not wrong, but it is extremely confusing, and most books aren't written like that. But I was still having an okay time. Like, it's not the greatest thing I've ever read, but I'm getting through it okay. But we just got to a part near the end where we had back-to-back dream sequences. It was trying to do this cute thing of like, Ivy is thinking something and then you flash to Nick and he's thinking the same or a similar type of thing. But then we had back-to-back dream sequences. Nick talked to his dead dad and Ivy got to see her life through the audience's perspective. Like, I'm picturing it like a movie where it's like you don't see how he's looking at you, but she wouldn't because she wasn't there, or she was looking at something else, so it's just for an audience perspective thing, but it's a book. I don't know, knowing that this duo are screenwriters, I feel like it makes sense. They just don't have a great sense of setting, I think, of like being grounded in a moment. And I think in a movie or a show, you can rely on your actors to bring in a lot of the personality for your characters, but that's not super happening in this book. Oh, and spoiler for that thing I said I hope they don't do, but they did. The reason that Nick broke up with Ivy, he was actually going to propose, but before he could, she told him that she had a job offer and he didn't want to make her give up on her dreams, basically. So he dumped her, which is obviously dumb and bad, and no one liked it. But I'm sure Ivy will get over it immediately and it won't be a problem. There was one part in this book that I did really like, the bit with Nick's mom. She goes on her first date since her husband died, and that was very cute. But then it's been like 2 weeks since that, and she's fully in love with this guy and they're moving to France together. Which, like, no judgment if you want to run off with a hot Frenchman. I'm fully in support of that. But we don't see any character development and it feels really out of the blue, and we needed to spend more time with them because that was the part in the book that I was actually enjoying, and then even that got ruined. I also took a brief look at some of the reviews and basically all of them were like, the cover is perfection and the book is not, which I agree. This is a pretty incredible cover. Hi, it's 2 seconds later. It didn't even occur to me looking at the list of the worst things I've read on Goodreads. The only other thing that I read that's worse than this, other than Kissing the Coronavirus, is another Christmas book. It all makes sense now. I'm trying to get through the last 30 pages and I read half of one. And I have to update you because the main antagonist of this story just had her Sharpay moment where it's the end of the movie now, so she has to be nice. Sharpay always starts off a High School Musical movie as the villain and then learns the error of her ways by the end and then is evil by the beginning of the next movie. I hate it, and this book just did it, and I'm mad. This is possibly the dumbest ending that I've ever read. Like, it's so cheesy and over the top, and part of me wants to love it. Like, if Emily Henry wrote this book, I think I would be on board, but you weren't in my good graces to begin with. Also, she's been trying to come up with a different name for this movie, and the brilliant title that she has just now settled on is The Christmas Couple. I can't even explain how bad that is. I can't with this book. Okay. Book done. Was it good? No. Did it get worse as it went along? No, but at the beginning of the book, you're kind of holding out hope that it'll be good, and then it just disappoints you. This is an easy 2-star for me. No debating whether it's a 1 because, like, it was fine. It wasn't offensive. I got through it quickly. There were things that I liked about it. Were there things I liked about it? I had a good enough time reading it. I think my enjoyment definitely counts for something here. But it just seemed really stupid and really amateurish, a lot of the things that happened. I'm trying to decide whether it was properly Christmassy, but I don't think that the atmosphere was ever really set. Like, they did Christmas things. They baked cookies and they ate turkey. That's a Christmas thing, but like there wasn't any atmosphere of Christmas. There wasn't any vibe, but also there wasn't really a vibe of summer, so who knows. That's one book down, and a book I bought recently and read recently, so checking anything off of the TBR is a good thing. I'll see if I can talk my husband into watching something Christmassy tonight. So I'll see ya in a minute.
Yeah, that'll do. You can see it into the arm occasionally, I guess.
With the frantic motioning. Hello, welcome. We are sitting here now deciding what Christmas movie we want to watch. Inevitably, I think this will turn into a fight about whether Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Not a fight, it is.
I feel like there are levels of Christmas movies. There's like a Hallmark level where it's definitely a Christmas movie and they're wearing Christmas colors and there's a tree. And then there's like, it's around Christmas. I think of like a While You Were Sleeping, and then there's Die Hard.
And there's Die Hard.
Now, what is your favorite Christmas movie?
Oh man, that's so hard. Because like I'm going through a list now of like what even is a Christmas movie? Like National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, very good Christmas movie. A lot of these I've never seen. Like Scrooged, starring Bill Murray.
The book I read literally mentioned Scrooge.
That's so weird.
That's very strange.
Oh no, that's easy. My favorite Santa Claus movie is The Santa Claus.
Your favorite Santa Claus movie is the Santa? I would say my favorite Santa Claus movie is also The Santa Claus.
Yeah, and also my favorite Christmas movie.
Really?
Oh no, you know what? No, a Muppet Christmas Carol's on here. That's a good one.
Muppet Christmas Carol is excellent. My favorite Christmas movie, thank you for asking, is Beauty and the Beast: The Enchanted Christmas. A movie no one likes.
I'm looking at a list here. Would you consider While You Were Sleeping as a Christmas movie?
I literally just mentioned it.
Did you? Oh, sorry, I missed it. Batman Returns? That feels very Die Hard adjacent.
Batman?
Batman Returns with the penguin and all that stuff. Takes place at Christmas time-ish. A lot of horror Christmas movies on here. Like,
really?
Like Better Watch Out.
I have never heard of this movie. It's called Deck the Halls. It's Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick.
That can't be good.
How have we not seen that, though?
That might be it.
That might be so bad it's good.
Or just so bad it's bad.
Polar Express.
I don't know if I can go through Polar Express again.
We recently watched Polar Express, and it's a time.
It's hard.
The Waiter song.
I don't even remember what they're singing. I just remember the imagery, and it's horrifying.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't we just watch the Lego Star Wars Holiday Special?
We can. The Jack Black one. Everyone here knows what I'm talking about. Kate Winslet, and they switch houses. Is it called The Last Holiday?
No, that's Queen Latifah, and she's gonna die.
Oh, that is Last Holiday, yeah.
I don't remember what that one is.
Do you want to watch that one?
Sure.
Because I don't think you've seen that. And I've only seen it once.
It's very unlikely that I have seen that.
That's a good contender.
You don't want to watch? You better watch out.
You better watch out.
You better watch out. You better watch out.
What is that?
It's like a vine.
That's just a TikTok.
Yeah. Very good Christmas movie, Edward Scissorhands.
I don't remember Christmas happening in that movie.
I remember there being a lot of snow. I'm sure he carves up a Christmas tree at some point. One of my favorites, Arthur Christmas. I'll stand by it forever.
You do love Arthur Christmas.
I do have a soft spot for the original How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
This is something I was just going to say. My article ranked the new Grinch with Benedict Cumberbatch above the Jim Carrey Grinch.
Wrong. The order of Grinches is the old animated one, then the Jim Carrey one, and then whatever that Benedict Cumberbatch abomination is. That's like somehow fifth in a list of 3.
Right, but like, we should feel bad that we like the Jim Carrey one, right?
No, because we rewatched it semi-recently, and we had a really good time.
We had a good time, but it's not a good movie.
No.
Wow, this has Christmas with the Cranks in number 4.
Did we watch that?
Yeah, I really like Christmas with the Cranks.
Last Holiday showed up on mine. I guess that's also technically a Christmas movie.
Be a better article. They have It's a Wonderful Life in the number 1 spot. Like, be original.
Ugh. Yeah, one of those.
One of those.
But we listed like 8.
We'll just watch this all back.
Yeah.
Have I mentioned that I'm really bad at vlogging? Because I'm really bad at vlogging. So in the last clip, you saw my husband and I deciding what to watch. We did end up watching, why is it so hard to call? It's just called The Holiday. I don't know why that's so hard for me. but it was really good. He said it was fine, not really his cup of tea, but he was happy to sit through it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was super charming, and they do a lot with a limited cast and premise. There's good jokes, there's good atmosphere, there's good like reveal stuff. I think it's really fun. Not that anyone needs my endorsement of The Holiday 16 years after it came out, but just so you know. But that was all several days ago, and I've started and am 65% of the way through our next book, Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrun. I should have grabbed, it's up there, the last book I read by Alison Cochrun, her debut, is The Charm Offensive, which is the gay bachelor book, and I was approved for an arc of her next book, which is a sapphic Christmas romance. Couldn't ask for anything more perfect for this log, and I'm really enjoying it. It definitely took me a while to get into, but I have lots of notes. Let's talk about it. First of all, for arc purposes, I will tell you that this is 368 pages and it comes out on November 1st. And the author's note immediately has me because she talks about how she was inspired by While You Were Sleeping. The connection to While You Were Sleeping isn't super prevalent unless you are very familiar with the movie, which I am, and we talked about it in the last clip. It took about 20% of this book for the plot to really start happening, and then it took me until basically 50% to really actually be invested in the story. It opens with the main character, Ellie. She went to school for animation, but she's making a web comic based on this snow day that she had with this girl that she met, and we get intermediate chapters with that about what happened last Christmas and then going to this Christmas, which I think is a really fun idea, but I don't think that the comic portion is different enough. It's just told in the same way. No one has their names changed. It's just like a flashback essentially, which I think is a really missed opportunity because there are definitely books that incorporate comic panels or stuff like that. Ellie is working at a coffee shop and she's very unhappy with her life and she needs money, and one day she gets a ride home from the landlord of the coffee shop where she works, and he proposes a marriage of convenience. He needs his inheritance, but there's a clause that he won't get it unless he's married, and he will give her 10% of the inheritance. She's not happy about it, but she agrees. One of the stipulations is that they spend Christmas together with his family, so then they go up to their cabin and hang out with the family. The problem with this for me is you know that it's sapphic. Like, it's very much pitched that way. The cover is very much giving you that, but it's also a marriage of convenience, and it's hard to have that and not root for it. I think that this would have been more served if we had done a love triangle. Does it make things infinitely more complicated? Yes, but the problem is, like, she's marrying Andrew is his name, and he's fine, but like you don't really like him. They're obviously not a good fit. There's no flirting between them. You know immediately who the end game is. And my other thing is, I don't love Ellie as a main character. She's very sad. Understandably, her life is kind of falling apart and she has a messed up relationship with her family, but it's just not fun. Like this, I want this book to be fun. I want a Christmas romance to be fun is the only word that I can think of, but we spend a lot of time, it's all from her perspective, and it just kind of, that's definitely more of an expectation thing than anything wrong with the book. Though I do think it's interesting, Alison Cochrun's last book had 2 POVs and this one is only single POV. But really the point of While You Were Sleeping, the way that I see it, is falling in love with the family, and this book is also doing a really good job of that. The 2 grandmas, Mima and So yesterday my camera died in the midst of talking to you and I didn't care enough to update you. So it's the next day. I read a little bit more. I'm at the 80% mark now, so I'll probably finish it right now. I believe the last thing I was talking to you about was how much I love Mima and Lovey, which I do. Lovey is recovering from a hip replacement or something, and she's just high all the time. And one of the Christmassy activities that they do is baking cookies, but they're a little baked at the time, and so not really many cookies get made, and it's very cute. Speaking of, this one is very strong on the Christmas activities list. The last book we read, not so much. This one, they build gingerbread houses, they go skiing, they chop down their Christmas tree, and they also do like a carol sing just for themselves. It's very cute, it's very good. It's just bringing in a little bit too much of the sad stuff that I don't really want. And like this stupid, it's not a miscommunication. There's actually a line in here. One of the characters says miscommunications are for the straights, which I appreciated, but then they're still sort of doing a miscommunication. It's just like a keeping secrets from each other, basically. I'm really enjoying it. I just feel like I have a lot of notes on it, like literally a whole page of notes. But I think it's just a difference in expectation. I want there to be more happiness than sadness. And I feel like it's like 60-40 for sadness at this point. That seems too high, but that's the general vibe, at least, if not the math. Oh, also, I did have much grander plans for this vlog. We were gonna make a gingerbread house that I found that we had from last Christmas, but it was not worth saving. And just maybe at Christmas we'll try doing this again. Also, this vlog has to go up tomorrow, so we're kind of at crunch time. There is one thing that this book is doing that a lot of books do now that bother me, is the general millennial ennui, which is just kind of depressing. The world is just depressing, I guess, but it's depressing in both facets, both like in the feeling of helplessness of late stage capitalism, but then what this book is doing is much more a bootstraps approach, which I also hate. The main character in here got fired from her job, and they're talking a lot about like failure and stuff and pursuing your passions, and it's like that's not attainable really now. There's just a whole talk happening right now about how this woman got fired, but they're saying it like she quit emotionally, and it's like, yeah, if you get fired, like, be depressed for a good amount of time. That's a really depressing thing to happen. You need some time to wallow in it. But it's a really hard thing to get away from, because a lot of what I read is about women in their 20s and 30s where that's kind of their world. And I don't know how to insulate myself from it, because there's always the two camps of people who, one, read books for escapism and one read books to see themselves reflected. And I am an escapism person, so this kind of thing pushes my buttons and just generally like bums me out, which again is not what I want to be reading this Christmas book for. I decided to set up for my wrap up because this is the last book I'm going to read this month. Might as well get it all out of the way in one go. So we are, of course, sitting on this floor for this final update. It was fine. I ended up skimming a lot of the end because I think it was really repetitive. It talked about events that we'd already seen and talked about her feelings about them, which like were extremely clear. We didn't need that rehashed for a fourth, fifth time. And there were a couple of things at the end where I wish we had seen the actual scene. There's like a montage moment, and I needed it to be less montage and more I'm in it. Because I think ultimately it just didn't focus on what I wanted it to focus on. In the author's note, she talks about how she didn't set out to have this be a book about failure. It just sort of happened because of life circumstances and a bit of a self-insert thing, which I think is fair. Nothing wrong with this book. It's just an expectation or a desire of what I want to get out of this. So ultimately, I'm going to give it 3 stars. I think that it is really good. It's strong. The writing is really good. I think it's maybe just a touch too long and a touch too sad, but there's definitely a market for it. And I think Alison Cochrun is really good at writing side characters. That's something I noticed in The Charm Offensive too. I just love her side characters, and I think probably they bring a lot of the levity, which is probably why I love them so much, because her books do deal with more serious topics, a lot of mental health stuff. I'm a little bit disappointed. This is something I was really highly anticipating, and I enjoyed it. I had a good time. I thought there were lots of really strong elements to it. I just have a lot of guilt reviewing an arc and you get. I'm coming at you from editing this video, and I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this book is just chock full of representation. We've got a Korean family, a bi main character, a trans lesbian, a non-binary person of color, and it just sort of works. Everything is seamlessly integrated here. It just talks about how this is set in Portland, and Portland is just a very queer city, and I really appreciated that. That definitely brought a whole different aspect to it that I really enjoyed. But that means that we can wrap this thing up. Summer of Christmas, I gave a 2-star, and Kiss Her Once for Me, I gave 3. A lot of unfortunate similarities between these books. A really strong cover on both, but ultimately not what I wanted, not Christmassy enough. I think my real problem was that I planned a Christmas thing when all of the Halloween stuff is happening. Today is the launch of the PSL. Taylor Swift announced an album. It's chaos on my corner of the internet, but I'm happy that I got to spend this time with you. So thank you so much. Like, subscribe, do all the things, come back for my wrap up in a couple days, and I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye.